Okay, so what is your question here?
Yeah. So I sent you an email over the weekend.
Yep.
I'm kind of in that transition period to where I've been playing poker a while,
Mm-hmm.
but I've never made the transition to full time.
Mm-hmm.
It's always been kind of like a side hobby thing. But over the last 6 months, I've been taking it
Yep.
more seriously.
Mm-hmm.
I've been setting aside time for study, hours I'm going to play, and I've seen results
Yep.
to the extent to where I've now made. You recommended the step up to 2.5. I don't know why I didn't do it sooner, but I did. And at the current win rate I'm winning at, I'm making about double, a little about 1.9x like my current day job rate, which I'm pretty proud of. To not gonna lie there. However, I'm not really a person that's finance is like everything, right? I'm not gonna do everything to where it's like only money matters. And I've been speaking to people I do know that play full time. It's kind of getting their, how enthusiastic are they about playing poker full time? And honestly, the majority of them say not to do it, which I find pretty interesting because that kind of it makes sense to me. It sounds fun to me, but I'm kind of thinking is there something I'm not considering, kind of like life advice, like type of thing that I'm missing out on? And I wanted to ask you since you've been doing it for a while now.
So how many hours have you put in? Number one.
20 hours a week on average.
For how long?
6 months.
So 20 hours a week for 6 months. So you're what, like 500 to 750 hours in, something like that?
It's about that, yeah.
And
Probably closer to 500.
And what game level do you play at? What's the level of game?
Yeah, so I was playing 2-3 for the majority of that, for about 2/3, and for about 1/3 of that, I've been playing 2-5. Winning at about 13.5 BBs per hour at 2-3, 16 BBs per hour at 2-5.
So what is that, like 85 an hour at 2.5 or something?
It's 80, 81.
And what's the buy-in cap?
1,000.
This is in a drop game or a raked game or what?
Yeah, Southern California.
A Southern California drop game?
Yep.
Well, just off the top, I find it very, very hard to believe that $80 an hour in a California drop game and a 1K cap game is going to be sustainable. Now, I've seen some crazy stats from Dave Tuckman in 5.5 with thousands of hours, but for whatever reason, he's going to just his sort of the way that he plays that game is pretty much like as good as it gets when it just his speech play and just all this other, stuff. And he'll admit he's not the highest level player, but he definitely crushed that game. But, here's the thing, man. I don't know what kind of job that you have or what. Can you tell me your age?
Yeah, I'm 33. I'm a data analyst.
Do you have a family? I
do not. No, I do not currently. So no major life responsibilities, low living costs.
Well, I mean, that's one thing that's going for you. But here's the thing, and I'm going to, I'll say this sort of in a broad aspect, and I don't mean to burst anybody's bubble, but I do truly believe that, especially with the amount of information that's out there, that's readily available, free, even from my stuff, that turning pro, quote unquote, as sort of a long-term aspiration is probably not going to be sort of the best course that I would recommend for most people. Now, if you have the opportunity, no matter how good you are, now, if you have the opportunity to sort of, you want to switch careers, you want to change your job, and you're like, I can quit my job now. I don't want to do this anymore anyways. I just want to play poker for a year, see how it goes. I am not going to go broke. I've got savings. Sure, then fine. I'm just saying that going in, I wouldn't want you to do that and say, oh, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I really do feel like sort of poker is kind of the best fit for poker if you're a money-making player is kind of as supplementary income, something that's enjoyable, and you can also make extra money at too, and be really good at too, and make some decent money on the side. Because one of the things that you'll quickly find out, especially if you go full-time, that 20 hours versus 40 hours is a big difference. And there's a burnout factor too, because even like I said in the top of the show, you could be playing 20 hours a week in all good games because you have the ability to choose good games during that time period you're playing at the best times. When you start to add volume to that, you don't have that ability to play at all those best times. And it's very, very easy to not go in. And that was always my issue when I was playing strictly full-time. I mean, I had my Deuces Crack podcast. This is the mid-2000 teens. I didn't, even though I was fully rolled and I could make more money at 10-20, 510 was so easy for me in the sense that no matter how bad a session I had, it wasn't going to be that bad. And it never dissuaded me from continuing to go in and put in volume. As I had said before, like in the first call, like, I probably had the top win rate in that game in the mid 2000 teens, probably out of everyone. Maybe one or two other guys were up there at like the 120 level. And I really never went on a serious downswing because it's really mathematically hard to have that kind of win rate and go on a serious downswing. So if you look at that, and that was like 120 an hour. Now, I could go and play 1020, which I did several times, and make like 140 or 150 an hour. So I was making like more like $30 more an hour. And you'd be like, well, why wouldn't you just choose to make $30 more an hour? My issue was that even if I could make 30 or 40 an hour, if I was swinging 40 or 50,000 consistently, the stress level, the quality of life, and my biggest problem was if I lost 10,000 one day, I wouldn't want to go in the next day and put in the volume. That never happened at 510. So I made more money at 510 than 1020 because it just allowed me to easily put in the volume with no stress whatsoever. That was sort of my thing. But like I said, I really, really hesitate to recommend anybody to go pro and say play 40 hours without actually trying it. I don't know if you have the opportunity to take like a vacation and do it, like 2 weeks, and just like say, oh, I'm going to put in 80 hours, daytime grind, whatever, just to sort of try it out. Now, you have the ability to do this as a young guy, usually like a guy like in their early 20s that doesn't have, really any family and very low sort of life expenses, have the opportunity to do it. But again, I still look at it as kind of like a means to an end. If you look at really some of the best poker players and some of the smartest guys, they all got out after a certain period of time because there's only so much you can really make. And, if you're that intelligent, you can use that money to do sort of other things. So I think it's kind of a bullshit argument a little bit when people are like, oh, that guy doesn't play anymore, so he must not have been able to beat the game. Like, that's not true at all. It's they found other things that were going to be better for their life and better to make money at.
Okay, that's great. I guess maybe I don't know if it's like a personal question or not. But is that why you started making poker content? Because I listened to you back on like Poker Road and Deuces Cracked and stuff. And I always wondered why someone who beat the game so well would kind of start poker content. Is it kind of like to give you something like more regular outside of the game?
Well, no, it wasn't that. It was just I had the opportunity. It wasn't a long plan like that. I was doing a podcast for Poker Road, and then I could see that there wasn't much of a future with that. And then I approached a training site, and I said, I can just do this podcast, and then from there, because I had such a positive response from that podcast, I figured that I could just do it myself. This was back in 2013, but it wasn't like a long game like I planned on, doing training like in that sense. And then now it's sort of escalated to the point where I spend most of my time on my company, which is this company, YouTube, and some other things. And I really only play to really get content, but I'm perfectly comfortable playing at any stakes like I would have played on that Saturday game. It just doesn't really make that much of a difference to me. Obviously, I have to play to stay relevant, to stay up and things like that, but it doesn't really – I'm at no loss when I don't put in a ton of volume nowadays, right? It's just I didn't really even feel much that I missed the main event this past year. And I've sort of turned a new page in my life with my kid who's turning 2 months tomorrow. So I've got other priorities going. But to sort of wrap this up in a bow and just take away from it, I would say it's very important to see what a 40-hour a week type of thing is. I don't think it's a long-term thing. Burnout factor, general stress in your life, things like that. If you have a job where you can take a break and then come back to the job, like you said, you're a data analytics, that's a positive. If you can have like a 1-year break and you just sort of want to make a go at it for a little bit and come back with no sort of negative repercussions, a lot of people don't have that opportunity to do that.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds like not a bad idea.
Yeah.
All right.
So
thanks, Bart. Appreciate it.
No, I appreciate the call. Thank you very much. If you like what you've seen here, please hit the subscribe button. And for more training videos like this, head over to crushlivepoker.com and you can use the coupon code YTA500 to get the first 30 days for free.